today with Jeff Sica to talk about his story, and then we can talk about how we got to know each other. So, Jeff, can you tell me a little bit about your childhood, how you got started? Where were your beginnings?
I would say that I had a pretty normal upbringing. I'm Italian, so we all lived around each other. We had a close-knit family. My dad was a salesman. He sold cash registers. He was always on the road. But he taught me a lot about sales. He taught me a lot about persistence. My mom worked in a bank, and we were always near family. So sports gave me in the early days, gave me no release from the stress that I felt of being in school and hating every minute of it.
Are you saying that you felt stress as a kid to the point of anxiety?
Yeah, I would say that I was a very anxious kid. Even thinking back, I mean, there were years. In junior high, they used to have these superlatives where, the most likely to succeed, best athlete, and they had, one of them was the quietest. Mm-hmm. I was voted the quietest. I got picked on a lot, bullied a lot. When things changed for me is that I had a cousin who, he was like, you know what your problem is? Because I was getting bullied a lot. And he was an older cousin. I looked up to him, and he came and he was an athlete, and he was, jacked. And he came up to me and he said, your problem, Jeff, is you got to lift weights. You got to get bigger, and you got to be strong. And he showed me a copy of Flex magazine, which was like the bodybuilding magazine. He goes, You got to be this. You got to be this, and nobody's gonna pick on you. So I went and, that was around Christmas time. So I asked for weights. So my parents got me these weights. I was so anxious to not be picked on and not be bullied anymore that I went down, I put them in my basement. I had a bench, I had these weights, dumbbells, the whole thing. They bought me the whole set, and I lifted the entire day. And at the end of the day, I was dead. And the next day, I had to stay home. And my mom was like, do you have the flu? I said, no, I got to get big. I just wanted to lift. So that was it. And thankfully, thank God, God above, that I started to get taller, and I started to lift. Like, I didn't care about school. I just wanted to go home and lift and eat and get bigger. And I would eat my mom will tell you, I would eat a gallon of ice cream. I would drink a gallon of milk. I'd say, you need to make me a pound of pasta every day after school. And I would eat and eat and eat and eat just to get bigger.
Didn't you tell me you were bouncing at nightclubs and things as a strong person?
Oh yeah, I mean
that was your identity?
Yeah, that was my identity. I mean, to me, being a bouncer was, it was like, I felt like I was in heaven. I felt like, this is the greatest job in the world.
So you reached the pinnacle of that journey of moving past your insecurities. How did you begin your professional career that has become what it is today? Because what we'll eventually talk about is how dynamic your work is, because you're not just in one field. You've branched into many fields. So where did you go from that point of not really fitting into school and beginning on the path forward? And what did you do there?
Well, what happened with me is that, I thought I wanted to be a teacher at one point. I don't know why. I guess I hated school. I mean, think of it. I hated school, but I want to be a teacher. I don't know whether it was this, whatever I had in my mind of being a teacher, but I love football. I want to be a football coach. So when I finally left college, I started coaching football and going down the road to become a teacher. And I'm thinking, I gotta be, this is what I want to do. And in my mind, I'm saying, if I become a teacher, I'll be the best teacher. I'll be a different teacher.
Right.
I'll be different than any teacher I ever had. And I didn't know, like, I had a writing teacher back in high school that really inspired me, eventually I started writing my own blog. I wrote for Forbes. Everything became oriented towards writing. It always started with writing, and she was a big inspiration to me. So I would think back with her, I would think back with my, what she said to me, and then when I got out of college and I started teaching, I wanted to teach writing, but nothing was working out for me. I mean, I was coaching football, but I wasn't getting a job, so I was substitute teaching, and I was doing a lot in order to try to find the next step of my life, but nothing seemed to be going my way. So, one day I'm just, I'm with this friend of mine, and he's like a goofball. Like, he's a great friend. He's probably going to watch this, but, all of a sudden he's wearing these like nice sneakers, and he's got nice clothes on, and I'm thinking, what, how is this happening? You never had new sneakers or nice clothes. He said, well, I'm working in the financial business, and I'm a broker, and so I got involved with that, and that became my career, for a lot of years. Okay. And it was mostly because I looked at him and I said, there's something about his life that's different, and there's something about his confidence now. I remember he's like, yeah, I bought a Ford Explorer. I mean, I'm thinking, like, I'm not thinking, this is what God destined me to do. I'm thinking, I need a new car. Yeah. I need shoes or sneakers.
Practical.
He's wearing a suit. I don't even own a suit. And all that was that was my initial inspiration.
We started talking about how you transitioned from teaching, and it wasn't quite manifesting in the way that you thought it would. And you saw a friend that was having the things that you needed. So what was going on in your life at that point? Was there something about your personal life that motivated you to change gears?
Well, I mean, there was stuff going on with me. I mean, at that point I had, I still from my earliest recollection, I had a really hard time believing that I could succeed and be anything and achieve, but I did have this restlessness that I wanted things. I wanted a better life, and it was like that seed of optimism that I held on to. And to see that I had a friend who was kind of my equal, and he's advancing beyond where he was inspirational to me. And I got married, and that was a big thing for me, because I felt like, all right, now there's someone who actually is in my life and believes in me, and that meant something to me.
So you got married and you began venturing into the world of finance at that point, in brokering and trading. Is that the kind of work it was?
Yeah, I became a broker. I sold bonds. I sold stocks. I was, it was a lot of years of doing that. But one thing, I went into my first interview. The first thing I said, I went into this interview and met my mentor, and he was such an important inspiration to me, because I came in and he's smoking and cursing and telling me about him, but he spent like 2 hours with me, and finally he said, and he just telling me about the business, and I'm thinking, like, I don't know what's going to happen with this job, but this guy spent two hours telling me about a business, and I'm sitting here and thinking, this is a good person, and I'm feeling I'm feeling confident from it, because So at the end he goes, I'm looking for someone who's young, hungry, and poor, and you said that
check,
would
check,
be me. Check, exactly. So he hired me, and I said, I will be the first one in, the last one out, every single day, and I will never let you down. I will outwork everybody in this place, and I will become a vice president in 2 years. And he looked at me and he goes, all right. And I think in the back of his mind he said, just do your best, see what you can do. But he said, oh, and by the way, the person who gets in here gets in at 7. The last person to leave doesn't come till 10 till 11, but he doesn't leave till 10 at night. So if you keep your word, it means you're getting in here before 7 and you're leaving at 10. And he said to me, do you want to maybe change that commitment? Because he said, after all, your word is everything. And I said, no, I'm in. And I did it. And I did it. And I worked an obscene amount of time. And I just gave my heart to it. And, I did that. And that became my work ethic. That became extreme drive, because here I am, I got hardly any education. I'm a bouncer that's working in this securities firm. I have no family, money. I didn't have any of that. And here I am. I'm just going to drive myself. I'm going to outwork everybody. There is nobody that is going to outwork me. And if that doesn't work, I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to do it. And that's what I did.
That's fantastic. How many years was that phase where you were first in, last out, before you moved on to another?
I have to be honest with you, I never outgrew that. It was always like blue collar. It was always like I had this blue collar mentality. It's like, if you're gonna cut down trees, or you're gonna, that's the background I came from. If you're gonna cut down trees, or, or cut grass, or whatever you're gonna do, I am going to drive myself to the point of absolute failure. Like in the gym, the only time you get results is when you get to the point where you fail.
Failure.
And that was my whole mindset, and that's how I pretty much lived my life. I always said, I'm going to be the blue collar guy in the white collar world. I'm going to, my son will ask me all the time, he'll say, are you blue collar, white collar? And I'll say, I am a blue collar guy in a white collar world, and that's the way I operate, because, it's not about entitlement. It's about, if you want it, you got to work for it. If you want it, you got to work for it. Nobody's going to hand it to you. And that's driven me my whole life.
So from this, at what point that happened, that you went out on your own, you started to branch into many different aspects of business, but you went beyond just investing and brokering.
Yeah.
What was that next step? When did you start, and how did you start that next step?
Well, here's where I'm at. I'm this person that I'm intrinsically, internally restless. I'm constantly getting myself in trouble because I can't keep myself, zeroed in. I'm curious. I want to find different ways of doing things. I don't want to be status quo. I don't want to look at, I look at the way people would invest, and I'd say this is crap.
Your lifestyle, your professional, the demand of your lifestyle. Can you walk me through a day or a week? What that looks like?
Well, I'm going to give a disclosure to most people, because my lifestyle, and first of all, meeting you and your advocacy of a healthy lifestyle. I mean, my lifestyle normally, for most of my life, was drive hard, everything, get up as early as you could. I had an uncle who told me the early bird gets the worm, and that's like a cliche, but to me that was like, yeah, I'm going to get up earlier than anybody, and I get up at that magical hour of 3 a.m. every single day,
which always just is in a little bit of a shock and awe moment.
It is, but the thing is about getting up at 3 a.m. First of all, the world's not up. The world's not awake. I guess maybe if you live in New York City, you're just, you're still out, the city that never sleeps. But getting up at 3 a.m. is just a magical time where, where nobody's awake, where you start to, anticipate the sun coming up, where I could pray, I could write in my journal, I could meditate. It's just a magical time. The phone is not going off. It's the time that I really need to get grounded. And it is, to me, if I don't have the time, if I don't spend that time where I'm going to pray, meditate, read inspirational stuff, write, my day is not going to go well.
And how long is that in the morning before you're?
I spend from about 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. and then every day at 5 a.m. I work out. And that's become a normal habit with me because, to me, it's like if I don't work out, and that's always been a problem, from what I talk about in training. My problem has never been to not have the motivation to train. Mm-hmm. My problem is I overtrain. I wear myself out, hence, my need for help. It got to the point where, yes, I'm dedicated and committed, but I'm driving myself and not sleeping well, sleep apnea, all kinds of problems. I'm looking at life as being like a race. I'm not looking at it as being a marathon. I'm pushing myself to the point of exhaustion every single day, and periodically I crash.
Okay, so this was before you started to come in to see me for support. And has that changed, or are we basically enabling you to continue pushing at the level that you expect out of yourself?
Well, some of it had to change. Some of it, as you get older, you start to feel the aches and pains a lot more. Mm-hmm. It's all about recovery. It's all about, sometimes when you're younger, you could recover in a day. When you're older, I'm bench pressing on Monday or on Friday, and I'm still sore on Monday. So that's,
Now, I do remember when you first came in, and we talked about your workouts, your workout routines, and I think that was one of the first things that you remarked was that you can't seem to recover. You couldn't recover from your workouts from one day to the next, or even when you started taking some time off or switching things up, you were still not recovering before the next workout happened. What kind of workouts were you doing? What was your approach? And then what have you modified into?
Well, I was, obviously I trained with a great trainer, and he was kind of directing me. And anytime I got hurt, it was always on my own. So I was always, I would always try to keep up. So I was doing these very hardcore, strength workouts and, driving myself, but not doing a lot of cardio, not doing a lot of flexibility. I was making fun of yoga. I was saying, there's no way I'm ever going to do yoga. I do yoga now. And I was making fun of the whole thing. It was just, push, and break down your body more and more with every workout.
So when you came in, if I remember correctly, through a referral from another one of my patients. Mm-hmm. What did you say to her? What were you going through at the time that she recommended?
Well, she's a brilliant former CEO of a biotech company, and she's we were just talking openly. I mean, I'm an open book, and we're just talking openly, and I'm running through the litany of physical problems I'm having, because I'm thinking, you ran a biotech company, she went to Yale Medical, she's a doctor, and I'm gonna just extract every ounce of knowledge I can get from her. And that's when she had said, listen, you gotta consider working with Tammy, and she could help you with I had neck problem, still have neck problems, getting better. Work with Tammy, start to try the herbal medicines and try to get things together. And
then you started to open up. We spoke to other practitioners. We spoke to your trainer. We coordinated with your trainer. Mm-hmm. And tell me about your lifestyle now. Obviously, you still drive hard. I like to call your lifestyle high octane, mm-hmm. because it keeps steam rolling along. We know that your weekends are much more relaxed. We're happening to be here on a Sunday in your office, mm-hmm. because it's probably one of the few days that you have where you're taking a bit of respite from the drive. But I'd like you to tell me a little bit more about your daily schedule, because you're also on television, mm-hmm. With a business analyst role. So can you tell me a little bit about how that works in with your other administrative and entrepreneurship.
Well, let's say I get up at 3, I pray, I write, I meditate, I work out, I do yoga, I do, then I go to work. And to me, it's like work it's war. It's like a contact sport. So I need to be driven. I need to come in here. I look at it like we want to be like the Navy SEALs. Get in, get it done, get out. Like that's the way my mind is. I don't waste time. I just don't. If I'm wasting 5 minutes, I get pissed at myself because I'm out to be the best, and I'm out to inspire the people around me to be the best that they can be, and not so much because we want to throw it in the faces of our competition, although that's always somewhat enjoyable. But what we want to do is I've always had a hard time taking vacations. I've always had a hard time being away. I've always had a hard time being out of the office because I've always looked at it like I can't let anybody get up on me. I can't let anybody, everybody. You always got people coming from behind you that want to pass you, and I'm thinking I'm going to still outwork them. So when I was 21, it was when I was 25, when I was 35, when I was 45. Then all of a sudden I'm hitting 50, and I'm thinking, man, it's like I got to keep driving. And I got to keep up with it, because if I don't keep up with it, there's always somebody that's gonna fit into the spot. And being an entrepreneur, it's laughable to think of a 9-to-5 day. Like, you're an entrepreneur, you work 24/7. I mean, for me, the most important thing to do was I had to come to a place where I realized that I might be able to endure it internally. Like, my mind is still that of, it's still the way it always was. It's still driven, but your body starts to rebel. Like, your body starts to rebel. You start to have symptoms. You start to, get sick more often. You start to really look at, you start to really see that you can't. If you're not taking care of yourself, you're going to crash. If you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be competitive, and you're not going to have the same. You're not going to have the same drive to sit there and really listen to your employees, to really listen to your family, to really put other people's needs ahead of your own. You're going to sit around and thinking, man, I'm so exhausted, I'm so burned out, and that doesn't help. That doesn't enhance creativity. That just puts you in a place of constantly being behind, and I didn't want that.
Yeah. Even as a practitioner, a lot of the products that are out there appeal to the need for more energy, but a lot of these are stimulants, and it just perpetuates the cause of the imbalance. So what can you tell me about how you felt since we've gotten started? It's been probably a couple of years now, right?
Well, first, keep in mind, like, for me, it was going back to the supplements, all the stimulant supplements that were the pre-workout. You take pre-workout, basically pre-workout is loads of caffeine, all kinds of different caffeine by another name, or stimulants, and just torquing your body, and then crashing.
I see people with shelves and cabinets of half-used products because they try it and they might have some partial benefits or short-term benefits, and then it doesn't quite hit the mark. So you're saying you were one of those people that had a cabinet full of stuff.
Yeah, so when I met you, and first off, I didn't know what medical herbologist did or what you were, but I knew that your patient and friend and my friend Cindy that had referred you to me knew that you were legit, because I'm thinking, all right, listen, I gotta get, I'm working out all the time. I feel like crap. I can't sleep. I got sleep apnea. I got all these things going my body is rebelling against me, and I'm trying to look as good as I can look, but I'm really struggling.
You felt like it was impacting your work at that point?
Yeah, and it's, I'm falling asleep. Like, I'm falling asleep at stoplights because I'm exhausted, and I'm going to the doctors, and then I meet with this pharmaceutical. I don't want to give away who it was, but I meet with him, and we're basically talking about the pharmaceutical industry, and he says something that really struck me, and he says, he goes, we don't have a real vested interest in people getting better. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, man, that's kind of crazy. They have their purpose. There's medications that work, and there's groundbreaking discoveries in biotech and that are necessary. But for a good percentage of the people, there's a better way. There's a holistic, organic way. So I was all for it. I didn't quite know what you did, but after meeting with you and seeing, number one, how highly educated you are, how knowledgeable you are, you spent a massive amount of time getting to know my symptoms and getting to know my challenges, and you put together an official diagnosis and created these medications that have handled a lot of the problems that I didn't think I'd ever get rid of, that I thought I'd have forever.
What kind of things stand out the most?
It's the fact that I don't feel tired all the time, and that's a major thing. And one of the things that you made for me, you said, instead of drinking 20 shots of an espresso, try this. Yeah. And you made it, and I take a little bit of it, I drink a little of it, and I don't need coffee, and I don't feel jittery, and I don't feel like I'm going to drink it, and then a half hour from here I'm going to crash.
Although you do eat a lot more vegetables. You're having green smoothies, and you're adding in whole food components rather than just popping a supplement pill. You're maybe putting in some bee pollen, or you're putting in wheatgrass, or you're putting in additions to your smoothies that have helped you from a food basis.
Yeah, I would say that probably my diet is probably 70-80% vegetables now, which if you would have told me 10 years ago, it was like, try to eat the biggest hamburger, the biggest steak. I still occasionally, but now a lot of times I'll just space out the amount of protein I eat, and as far as the vegetables are concerned, like, I feel better. That was like my everyday. I mean, I'm like 220 now, but I got up to like 275, and it was just eat, get stronger, and I wasn't feeling healthy. I wasn't feeling good.
Now, one thing that stood out to me, though, even though your workouts have modified to some degree, you are doing more interval style workouts, but you still do your strongman style exercises with your trainer, but you also went to Iceland and you were working out with some of the strongest people on the planet, and you have some social media posts of you lifting giant boulders and these different pieces of equipment, and your muscle density and your muscle tone is still there. After a short period of dialing back and just allowing the body to recover and repair, so it is possible to continue having the high octane physical goals, but being able to achieve it without the pain and without pushing so hard to the point of not being able to repair your body. So this is encouraging.
I'm very lucky. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't think a lot of people have medical, have fitness people that the access of what I have.
Right.
And people who work with elite athletes, and for you who work with high level people that need to be optimal. I mean, it's not a matter of I'm going to take today off and sit in a chair. It's not going to happen.
Right.
It's just not going to happen.
You demand a lot from yourself. What do you actually expect of yourself? What do you expect of yourself on a day-to-day level?
And looking back to the people who contributed in my life, what they gave me, which was more valuable than money, than anything else, it was time. It was time. Most people I work with these teenagers. I've been working with these teenagers at a rehab for 16 years, every Tuesday night. 7 o'clock, from 7 to 9. I work with them 16 years. I hardly ever miss. And the one thing that I found, I've learned a lot from these kids. They all have drug and alcohol problems. They're all in inpatient rehab. One thing I've learned that they need more than anything is they need somebody to believe in them. Because a lot of people pushed them aside and counted them as nothing, and they need people to sit with them and say, you know what, you could do whatever you want to do in life. You're not defective, and whatever it is about you that makes you different, that's going to make you great.
Well, you just touched on the very last question that I had for you, because your time today has been something that I personally and professionally, I can't even express my gratitude enough for your taking the time. And you talked about, you just mentioned now, having someone believe in you and take that chance. When I came back from the United Kingdom with my degree, most people they thought it was clever or cute, what is herbal medicine, and they just didn't understand. And for at least a decade after I returned to America with my degree, and I thought, here I am, and you build it and they will come, field of dreams, you put your shingle out and people are going to come to you. And most people largely didn't understand it. And I appreciate your open mind you came from a fitness world where and I came from a fitness world early on, with the mentality of more of that supplementation. And so for you to open your mind and come in and approach this from an internal, functional herbal medicine approach, as well as the manual neuromuscular treatments that we've helped you with. You've actually expressed that in coming in to see me, because I know this was not something you were familiar with. So what can you tell somebody who might be watching about herbal medicine, about your sense of longevity and vitality, and people that might not quite understand? You know that I work with hormones, metabolism, and immune function. So I'm dealing with the endocrine system, I'm dealing with the nervous system, but it's very technical terminology and people don't get it. So what would you say to somebody who's watching, who might be curious? What can you part with today that might help someone understand it a little bit better?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you, Tammy, for having me, because for what you've done for me and helping me get out of all those physical issues that I was having, through your diligence, through your dedication, has meant the world to me. So what you're doing is your help has been priceless to me. So I want to thank you. And what I would say to people out there that don't understand it, the one thing you can't help but notice is how many people suffer with different physical issues. And you know what? A lot of people suffer needlessly. Some people, they have physical issues, they have to get through them, they have to find a way to get better. But the reality is, a lot of people turn to the medical profession. And listen, I have nothing against the medical profession. I know some incredible doctors. Absolutely. But a lot of them turn to pharmaceuticals, and a lot of them turn to other methods that just don't work. They just don't work. And my advice to anybody is to have an open mind over what you do. What's impressed me about you is the incredible wealth of knowledge that you've accumulated through your life. There's hardly anything that I've ever said to you that you haven't been able to give a scientific answer. You are extremely knowledgeable in what you do, and there is a way for a tremendous percentage of the things we suffer with on a daily basis to be handled organically and holistically through what you do. So my advice to anybody is, you've tried the doctors. You've tried the medical profession, and you know what? Maybe you have to keep trying it, but try this in combination. And when you find it works, and it's liberating when you find it works, and you don't have to rely on dangerous drugs, dangerous substance, constant medical procedures. It's freeing, and that's what life is about. It's to be free.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much. That was gorgeous.